Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome to my very first video on Dirt Rally 2. I've been lucky enough to get my hands on the game nice and early. I've played for maybe 15 hours or so I can give you my initial opening impressions, what do I like about the game, and maybe what I don't like about the game so much. So of course, thank you to Codemasters for sending the game over nice and early. This is a hashtag sponsored video, so please do have a look at the link in the description to a competition being held by Thrustmaster, so you can win yourself some nice gear. So do have a look at that. I'm just going to get straight into the video though, so I'm going to look at this as objectively as possible. I am going in with high hopes though, because I was a really big fan of Dirt Rally 1, and there is a little bit of confusion here I think, because so this is the next game in the Dirt series. It's been quite a long ongoing series. The previous game to come out in the series was Dirt 4, but then we had Dirt Rally 1 before that, and people wondering what type of game is this one going to be. Well, it really does follow on from Dirt Rally 1, as you can probably imagine by the name Dirt Rally 2. So in that sense, very much a simulation orientated game, very difficult to play, or difficult to get good at should I say, very difficult to master, but at the same time very fun. I really do like the challenge. So in terms of the physics, the handling, that's probably what you want to know first. Well, it's difficult. It really is not easy to get to grips with, but that's in a good way. So to begin with, on most of my runs, I was probably ending up in a tree, upside down, falling off a cliff, or murdering a spectator. That's probably quite a common experience that most of you would have had on Dirt Rally 1. But we all love it really. But then once I began to pay more attention to how I was driving, what type of car I was driving, type of stage I was on, in terms of the conditions, then things became a little bit more natural and began to flow, and I wasn't crashing so much. You do have to pay attention to what you're doing. It's not like an arcade game where you could just mash the throttle and then just go around every corner very easily. You have to pay attention to everything. Every input you make here, throttle, brake, clutch, handbrake, steering, everything, you have to do it in a gentle, progressive way, just to make sure that you're not going to crash every 5 seconds. So I was really paying attention to the type of car I was driving. An example I'll give you was I was driving the Porsche, so rear engine, a lot of weight at the back, and therefore when I was going around corners, drifting, sliding, and getting on the throttle, it wanted to slide even more because the weight was like really accentuating that. So you really had to be a lot more gentle with the throttle coming out of the turns in that type of car. And of course it has like 400 horsepower, so it's not going to be nice to you if you dump all of that power down in one moment. The same kind of goes, or the opposite applies to maybe some of the front wheel drive cars where you nail the throttle and you want to straighten up. So you do have to drive the different cars differently, so you have to know what type of car you're driving and then drive it appropriately. Also the conditions of the circuit or the track or the stage, what type of surface are you driving on. So of course like tarmac in Spain, you can carry a lot more speed through the turns, you don't want to slide so much, but then on sort of like loose gravel you need to kind of use the handbrake a lot more, get the car rotated. So you do have to really take into consideration the car and the stage and the conditions. So for example, I was playing Argentina in the rain at night, and let me tell you, this is probably the most difficult stage I've ever played, and Codemasters is saying it's actually one of the most difficult stages to master, if not the hardest, and I can totally see why. Really narrow, rocks either side, cliffs either side, narrow bridges to go across. The rain made it really hard, because you do have to kind of rein in your inhibitions a little bit and just slow down a little bit earlier and be more gentle on the throttle as well. And of course it's really narrow, I was like falling off of bridges and stuff like every 5 seconds. So that stage was really difficult, but it's a really good test actually of really focusing and paying attention to what you're doing. So I really actually enjoyed the challenge, even though it was bloody difficult. So speaking of some of the locations there are 6 rally locations. So the game's kind of split up in rally and then rallycross. So in terms of the rally, there's 6 locations. Now Dirt Rally 1 had 6 locations as well, but they were all in Europe. This one's a little bit more global. So you've got like Australia, New Zealand, Poland, Spain, USA, and of course Argentina. So for those of you snow enthusiasts out there was no snow stage. You might be a little bit disappointed in that, but I think what is there is very good. I like the range of the surfaces, the range of locations. In terms of the rallycross, so it's a little bit more expansive than Dirt Rally 1. There's 8 locations here this time around, all part of the official FIA WRX series. And they're modelled really nicely. Like Silverstone was really nice to play. And having been there to that exact track, it looks really good. And of course, I think on a quick note on the graphics, I don't think we have to talk about graphics too much. You know, Codemasters are very good at graphics. It looks spectacular. It runs very smoothly. It's kind of what we expect from Codemasters games these days. Yes, it looks good. One thing I was disappointed about though was the lack of Pikes Peak. So I was scouring the circuits. Where is it? Where is it? And it wasn't there. Now it did come as a free update on Dirt Rally 1, so I suppose you never know. It could be added. I don't think it's not going to be there at launch. Yeah, maybe a little bit disappointed to not see the return of Pikes Peak. That's probably my favourite stage from Dirt Rally 1. But what is there, I do enjoy. Each location has like 6 to 12 stages. Some of them are really long actually. Some of them like 10 miles long. So it's not like you can learn it first time. It's going to take a lot of runs for a stage, especially a 10-mile stage, to fully learn it and really understand the full course. So in terms of the vehicles, there's 51 in total at launch, and they cover, you know, a fair wide time spectrum. So you've got some historics, you've got some modern ones as well, and everything in the middle. Now it's not going to be like Forza or Gran Turismo where you've got like 400 cars. It's never going to quite be like that. I suppose it wouldn't be because rally is never as big as track racing. I think Codemasters games, you know, then you're not going to get massive quantities of tracks and of cars, and I think that's kind of apparent here again. But I think what is there is solid. It's a good all-round spectrum of cars, and not just in terms of the cars, in terms of the circuits, in terms of the modes. What is there is good, but maybe there's not quite enough of it for real long-term play. But I think it's definitely going to keep me occupied for quite a long time still. So in terms of the conditions, we spoke briefly about the conditions. There is a new feature, track degradation. So of course in rallying in real life, as other, you know, there's lots of cars doing the same course. So if other cars go ahead of you, they're going to deform the circuit slightly, or the track, the course. And it's definitely noticeable, you know, the difference when some cars go ahead of you. They create like grooves in the course, and you can definitely feel your car reacting to those grooves, so it is actually a little bit harder. So it's just another thing they have to think about, as if there's not enough things to think about when you're on a knife edge at 100 miles an hour. And yeah, the track degradation adds another sort of layer, another thing to think about. Different tyre choices as well, or compounds. You can choose like softer or harder tyres. So of course softer will give you more grip, but it won't last as long, so you do have to kind of balance that off. So something else to think about. And then of course you have a load of tuning options. Now I'm not going to pretend that I know what all of the options mean, but of course if you want to get the absolute best times, you're probably going to have to play around with those. And of course for different conditions you have to use different tuning settings too. Another thing that added to the difficulty is like the damage. So you really do have to take care of your car, and this is why I kind of took the safer approach with a lot of the time. So instead of just going flat out and just really, you know, putting yourself at risk, I was kind of backing off a little bit and just making sure that I wasn't damaging the car. So of course if you damage the car, then it's just going to mess you up for the rest of the rally, the rest of that stage, and maybe the next stage as well, depending on the settings you have for damage. So there's so many things that make this game difficult to master, but I think my first overall impression really is that this is exactly what I like, this is what I want. The fact that it is difficult, and I think a lot of people really like that about Dirt Rally 1. It was not an easy game, but that's what made it good. The fact that you can keep coming back for more, working on your times on the leaderboards. So of course there's lots of leaderboard functionality, again, trying to beat your times, your friends' times. And there's multi-platform leaderboard functionality, although it doesn't actually always say the name of the player. I think if they're on a different platform it's just like Dirt Player, so you don't actually know the name, but you can still see how you rank against everyone in the world on different platforms. So maybe a quick note on the multiplayer. Now, it's early release, I haven't played the multiplayer yet. They're saying 8-player online, which I'm presuming is Rallycross, as in you can race literally at the same time as everyone else. But of course you have the other features of like the daily challenge, the weekly challenge, where you know you're doing it against people, but you're not doing it at the same time necessarily. The function comes back where you can create your own championships and then people can enter them. So I'm probably going to do that as well, like I did on the first game. So you can set up like a weekly championship or a daily one, or however long you want, a monthly one maybe. You can set up the stages, how many locations, etc. And you can create your own championships that way. And then you can do the Rallycross as well. But as I say, I haven't played online yet, so I can't really say too much about it. But yeah, I mean, my initial impressions are very positive so far. I think the main thing you could say is that it's difficult, it's hard to play. but that's kind of the good thing about it, the fact that there's a challenge there to try to get used to the cars, get used to the courses, and try to learn them and get better at the game. There's something always to work on. Like, it's going to be impossible to get, you know, absolutely brilliant on this game, or it's going to be very difficult. So there's always going to be something to work towards. A possible downside looking at the car list or the location list, I don't think they're too bad. It's just they're not absolutely expansive, but at the same time it's not bad. So it's an absolutely solid vehicle list and location list. Maybe I would have wished for more, like I said, Pikes Peak. I would have loved to see Pikes Peak. But I think what is there is very good. I suppose they go for the quality over quantity ethic. In no way am I displeased by what I've played so far. In fact, I've really enjoyed it. And I would say that playing New Zealand, I absolutely loved it. It was difficult, but really, really loved the experience of just playing the New Zealand course. It's absolutely beautiful for a start, but just the surface, the way the car goes around the corners, it just felt really nice. And yeah, that's definitely my favourite stage so far, New Zealand, 100%. But that pretty much wraps it up. Just a quick video about my first thoughts on the game. Of course, if you do have any questions, you want to know, you know, more information about anything, I'll do my best to answer you. Just comment down below and I'll see what I can do. So again, thank you to Codemasters, and of course again do have a look in the description for the various links down there. But that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, maybe subscribe. I'll be making plenty of DiRT Rally 2 content. DiRT has always been one of my favourite series, so plenty of content on this game, on this series. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, then maybe consider doing that. And I shall see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.